your favorite radio station.
This is Afro Vibes Radio Houston.
All right, welcome to Challenge the Norm. This is my new show. My name is Joie, and I am here on Afro Vibes Radio with my guest, Victor Beltran. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm a director, screenwriter. I also have my own podcast called The Sit Down with Slick Vic, available on iTunes and Spotify.
Cool. And today, our topic of discussion is how people are thirsty for connection. In other words, we're going to talk about how social media affects society. So what are your thoughts on social media? Like, what do you think about it? What do you think it's done to society?
I think in general, social media, unfortunately, has turned into a popularity contest. I think people want to show just the positive sides of their lives, and I don't know. It's like when you were back in high school. You always want to show off your new shoes,
Yeah.
and it's become a little bit corrupt, not
And
really
fake.
and fake. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my actual thing that I think about it is that it's affecting people in a way that maybe people don't really realize. And one of those ways is like relationships, and not just like like intimate relationships, but friendships and family as well. So with relationships, I think that it's been affecting how much work people are willing to put into things to make things work. Because we see now that people are getting divorced and breaking up. It seems to be a lot quicker than normal. I mean, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, people would like like each other, and then they'd get married like 6 months later, and now they're married like 50 years out. And so now it's like every time I log into a social media platform, I'm seeing another celebrity get a divorce, or another this or that. Like, what do you think about that?
I'll give you a little example of social media that really bothers me, and that it's kind of related with like the whole GPS and aspect of it, where like they know your location, or they want you to tell them your location. You're hanging out with you have two separate groups of friends. Everybody has that, right? Not all your friends know each other, and for whatever reason, you want to be nice to one of your friends. Be like, yeah, I can't make it to whatever because I have to work or I have to do this. You do a little lie, small lie. Shouldn't do that anyways.
Yeah.
But then you go out to hang out with your other friends, and you're at some bar, and all of a sudden they tag you.
Yeah, and you're caught.
And so now everybody knows where I'm at, and they're like, hey, you get hit up by that person. Hey, I thought you probably, and it just creates issues. I don't. It's like social media, cell phones. People think you have a cell phone. That means that you should be able to get a hold of me 24/7. That's not what that means.
Yeah.
It means that I can get a hold of you, or I can get a hold of whoever. And social media is attached to that in terms of people want to. I don't know why people want to tell everybody where they're at all times. And then that goes back to what you were saying earlier about this like fake creation of your life.
Yeah, and I feel like I just actually talked to someone yesterday who broke their phone, and then they were like, yeah, so I'm probably just, not going to have a phone until Friday of like next week. And I'm like, how can you go a week without a phone? And he's like, oh, well, it's actually really nice. But in my eyes, it's like, not only is it, I mean, social media is like one aspect of it, but it's like GPS. Like I can't go anywhere without GPS. And part of the reason of that is because I'm always late. So I need to find the fastest route like now. And then also just like having access to music, like music's really important to me. And then having access to camera, like I like to capture moments and stuff like that. So I really do feel like I am attached to my phone at all times. But it is really nice to get away from it, because you're like, oh, finally I can like disconnect and look at the world and like see someone like not behind a screen. But speaking of screens, we're also, not only is, obviously social media is really accessible through your phone, but through computers and through iPads and through tablets and Kindles and yada yada. So how have you seen, or how was it when you were like younger, when you were in high school or middle school versus
So
now?
I got my first cell phone when I was in high school. Uh, one of the,
Wow.
one of those old Samsung flip phones that didn't have any color. It was just like gray, green texting and no camera.
Hmm.
And so in those times, you weren't. It was just to call. That's what it was for. It was a phone. It was. There was
It's
no.
a
There were
phone.
no apps. I think I played Snake. It had Snake, if you remember that. Great game.
If I'm not that much younger.
So yeah, the fact that now you have a device with you that allows you to have all this power, all this accessibility, it's so much different than it was back then. And I think it has made people lose track of what's important. You you don't really need to know how many likes your picture gets. It doesn't matter. Well, why? Why shouldn't you should be worried about your kids or your relationships with your friends? Uh, I like this new thing that my phone is telling me. It's called like screen activity,
Mm,
and it tells
hmm.
you how much time you use your phone,
Up or down,
what,
like
right,
percentages
what
and
you're
stuff.
doing, what you're actually doing, what apps you're using,
Yeah.
and it can be disturbing when you look at it and you're like, what,
Yeah. I
why?
spent 15 hours of my day. Like, it's like, it is even like the mundane things. It's like even just checking the time or just endlessly scrolling or whatever, researching, whatever it is. It's like, it is shocking. It is very shocking to see, especially when you maybe do go without your phone for like a little bit and then it's like, oh, you were down like 50%. And it's like, wow, like I was busy. That's why I was down 50%. Like that is really crazy. But that is a cool feature. I like that feature about smartphones, at least. I don't know if all phones have it, but iPhones particularly. But what do you think about like how it's influenced like the youth? Like what have you seen?
So I feel a little bit sorry for the youth because they don't even know. They don't know what it's like to grow up in a world where every single moment of your life is recorded. I'm 35, so I have friends that have multiple kids. Older kids, teenage kids now, and their whole life was documented. Everything about this kid from 1 to 2 to 3, and it's fine. I have no problems with people taking photos, but do you really have to post everything? Do you really have to? Did your child really ask to be to have this? You thrust their life into the public eye like that? I mean, I see some people post some stuff about their child. I'm like, really, really, really. So I mean, it's unfortunate for them that they don't know what it's like to grow up like I did, to just go outside and play
Yeah.
and not have to worry about what they said about me on Facebook or who liked my Instagram. It's just stuff I didn't worry about. Just it didn't matter. Not only that, you talk about a very huge problem, and that's bullying. Cyberbullying is real. I will admit when I was younger, I was kind of a bully, but I was not a cyberbully. I just kind of did it in person.
So
But
that makes it better.
I mean, I think no, it doesn't make it better. It's just it's a perspective of that I have, and I don't see it to be too much different bullying
Yeah.
somebody in person than on social media. Kids have committed suicide because of that,
Hmm.
and we're all different. Some of us just can't handle it, and we shouldn't have to face that. Like
Yeah. But
that's
now people are hiding behind screens and even different usernames. I mean, there are people, I'm in groups on Facebook that talk about how this one abusive guy goes like makes different profiles under different names just so he can continue to abuse people over social media, whether that be like harassment via like pictures, like sexual pictures, or just like belittling someone online under different names just to like keep it going, just keep it going. Oh, you blocked me on this one, I'm just gonna create another one. It's like, my question is, how does someone have time like that? Like that takes a lot of time to sit and do that and to create this whole like other facade. And also we've seen that in politics. I mean, some people aren't scared to have their face attached to something like that, but there have been articles about politicians that have gone under aliases or like fake profiles in order to speak poorly about people that are in Congress or in the House right now, and stuff like that is just it's crazy. Like it's crazy because that's a gutsy move. That's a really gutsy move to go out there and do that, especially without an alias, but behind a screen because you feel like it'll never go anywhere, and that's that's really crazy. But there are, some of the laws we are seeing like laws, or we have seen laws being enacted to deal with the bullying.
Well, the problem with that is that technology is advancing a lot far. It advances so fast
Yeah.
that the laws are behind, and so you are making these new laws, but things have already happened, you know, and it's I think it's going to get to a point where it's going to be something that it's going to be irreversible because you're still letting this technology grow and grow, grow and grow, and there's no stopping point. We're not planning on doing any stopping. We're going to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we do as humans, right? We just make things easier, faster, stronger, smarter.
Yeah. And that's even like not even talking about s- pro social media, but like AI, like faster, stronger, smarter. Like that is a movement that a lot that we're very quickly getting into, and that's something I know people that directly work with, and that it's scary to me to see like some of the progress we've made with AI. I was just seeing an article yesterday about this white man that made a CGI very dark skinned, dark complected model that has actually gone viral and actually has like made moves, but she's not real.
Right.
When when there are like real dark skinned, very dark complected models that could do exactly what this woman's doing, or this woman, I guess, is doing, but she's fake.
Well, if you just take the evolution of Facebook, Facebook was created as a way for college kids to communicate on campus. That was like its main thing. Um, then eventually, as it grew and spread, uh, they saw the monetary, the things that could happen with that, and so they became commercialized, right? So you become commercialized, you in a sense sell out. And if you notice what Facebook is doing now, is it's essentially trying to create where you get everything from, not just what your friends are doing, but everything, the news, maybe they're trying, they provide programming, they provide TV shows.
Yeah.
They don't want you to leave Facebook. They're trying to make it so you never have to, and they're trying to integrate Facebook with your whole life.
Yeah, like apps like sign in with Facebook or
And it's almost you almost have to wonder what is the government's role in this, because you understand the government understands the power that Facebook has, and Facebook is a very profitable company who is on good terms with the government because they don't want to be taxed more than they need to be. It's all about money. So I would assume that in order for this agreement to take place, there's some exchange of information between Facebook and the government, because essentially they have so much information about you. It's crazy.
yeah.
And we're just giving it to them. They don't even ask for it. We just give it to them.
Yeah. And I mean, that just goes back with phones. I mean, it's like, it's very convenient to have a smartphone, right? But the amount of information that smartphones are gathering just by us having one, just by having, like, oh, yeah, let me see what's nearby. Well, now it knows where you are. It knows where you frequent. It can see where you go and how long you were there and then where you went after that. It's like, it is weird. And then to tie it back into the government, yeah, like exactly, like how much of the information is staying with Apple, right? How much of the information is staying with Google? How much of the information is staying with
Well,
Facebook
not to get too
and
not to get too controversial, but I mean, you look at the Patriot Act that was passed by the government in order to have access to any information about you. So that passed, 9/11. So now they don't even need your permission to tell Apple, to tell Google, hey, I need everything you got on this guy because we think he's a threat. And they have to give it to the government. It's
Yeah.
done. And I think the government knew what was happening with these companies. They knew what was happening. The government's full of very intelligent people, and so and if you think you're the only one that figures something out, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And they saw where this is going, and like you said about the information, what are they gonna do? Like, what is the ultimate plan with all this information? I could give you a theory, but I don't really want to go down that path. But
Well, that's a good point, and a good place to take a break, and we'll be.
Your favorite radio station.
This is Afro Vibes Radio Houston.
Okay, hey y'all, thanks for hanging out and keeping around. We are coming back to Challenge the Norm with Victor. And before the break, we were talking about how the government plays a part in our social media, and we are going to go further now and discuss how the government plays a part in our news. So I personally, and I know a lot of people that do this, and it might just because of like I'm in my early 20s, but I personally get a lot of my news updates via Facebook and social media, but I know that I also tend to do my own research whenever I feel like something is a little suspicious, or I'm just really shook and shocked and shooketh by whatever I have discovered about the news on social media about like real events in real world, like when all that stuff was going on in like Turkey and the stuff going on, like shootings and violence and just all that stuff going on around the world. I usually do my own research. What about you? Do you watch the news? How do you get your news?
I get my news from a very credible source. I really like the BBC.
Okay.
I think the BBC, due to the fact that they are not, from this country, it's more of a, usually when you have, for example, like two people boxing each other, the best perspective is from the audience because you get to see both of them what they're doing, and that's the way the BBC is. They're not Republican, they're not Democrat, and they announce the news unbiasedly. I think it's very unfortunate that people get their news through social media so much due to the fact that most of the news on social media is wrong, and is just used to kind of program people a certain way. Let's just be honest here. A lot of people are lazy, and so you see a link about something that you agree with, you click on it, you see information, you're like, oh, that's what I was saying the whole time, and then so it has to be true because I agree with it. It's true.
Yeah.
And then you don't even know where it came from. I mean, some of these websites are complete garbage, and it's not even easy. I don't even understand how you believe that. Like, didn't you see that article? I'm like, yeah, it's not true. Like,
Yeah.
did you not get the facts?
Yeah, so many times have I actually clicked on those links and it has been something not necessarily I agree with, but like a topic that is more towards my side of things, and then I maybe think to post it or I do share it, and then I read the comments and then I see that it's like, oh, it's fake, and then like I immediately delete the post because
Of
I'm
course.
just like, I don't want to promote that false like news, fake news, which that phrase is like overused these days, but I don't want to promote that. So if I see something that I think is maybe not like it's like too good to be true, or it's just like no way it's true, I do my own research specifically for that reason, because that is the easiest way to spout like what your agenda. Basically, you're like, oh well, this fits what I think, so it must be facts. It's like, yeah, but it's actually been disproven like multiple times over if you just like took the time to read the article, because a lot of times people just read the headline,
The headlines,
and they're
yeah.
like, oh yep, that's like it, and it's like, but if you actually read the article, which you can tell you didn't because you don't, when people ask questions you can't answer them, then you would actually know that it's actually like not at all facts, or it's not at all even your perspective. I see that happen a lot. And I think something to realize, or that maybe people haven't realized because it's kind of happened very subtly and very, very, very slowly over time, is we have been exposed to a lot of things through social media, like violence. But just when I was in high school, which was like, 5 years ago, that what we were seeing on social media was really, really, really violent. Like I remember seeing things about stuff going on, below the border in Mexico, and just being like disgusted and like shocked, and like it was crazy to see that. And now we always hear news about shootings, and like there are videos that go viral of the results of shootings, like in your face, like, and people are just like, yeah, repost, like, that's crazy to me.
I mean, yeah, it's if you look at just television in general. When I was growing up, Family Guy was like very controversial, and
Yeah,
nowadays,
kids are watching it.
well, nowadays you got cursing and so much other stuff that you can get away with now. It's almost like you just have to keep pushing the envelope. Each more and more and
Yeah.
more. The thirst is just growing, and they're no longer satisfied but by just simple violence. They want
Yeah.
extreme violence. They want extreme. It's one of those things that people like bad. People like to see. If you watch
Train
the
wrecks,
news,
like, it's like,
if you watch the news, it's full of negativity. It's full of things that are happening that are bad. Not that we shouldn't be aware, but
Yeah.
we shouldn't have to focus.
but you shouldn't be living in fear because of it.
Right,
And I
well-
feel like that's what
Well,
happens a lot
that's
of the
that's
time.
correlated with spending. There's a reason why natural disasters are very lucrative for companies. You say, hey, a hurricane's about to hit. What do people do? They go spend money. They go get groceries. They go get materials for their houses. Hurricane might not even hit, but guess what? Those businesses made money. Fear makes people spend. And that's
Yeah.
what it all comes down to.
But more than that, I mean, yes, our country is, I believe, run by money. Like, I don't think there's anything else about it. It's money straight up. But I do think, like, it goes farther than just, like, natural disasters. It's like, oh, all black people should be scared of cops. It's like, but I know black cops.
Yeah.
Like, I know black and white and Asian and Hispanic and other cops, and they're not, all that way. Like, but it makes it easy to control people and society.
Well, one of the reasons you have the rise of a lot of like ridiculous things is due to the fact that we are all connected, right? We are all connected. So it used to be that 20 years ago you're a guy and you have like these messed up opinions on something. All right, you're by yourself because you really don't talk to people. You're messed up in the head, so you're just gonna deal with that solo. Now you're messed up in the head. You have these ideas. You publish them. You're connected to everyone. So now all those other people that are messed up in the head and have those same viewpoints can talk to you.
Yeah.
And now you have a collection of all these people. I mean, that's one of the bad things about it, right?
But
I
that's
think-
also one of the good things,
Right, no,
right? Having that, like, oh, I have this like crazy idea that that's different from the norm, challenging the norm, and it's actually might be the key to like what needs to happen in order to come. Because let's be honest here, what we see in media, what we see on the news, what we see on Facebook, what we see on any other social media, or just media in general, in a newspaper, is only what they want, they being, what they allow us to see, what they are willing to like, okay, we need some like movement in this area of the government or of our society. So let's like push out this little thing and let's like hit it really, really hard for like 3 weeks, and by that time people will be freaked out enough to like not do this other thing, or people will be freaked out enough to do this other thing because of the result of this little itty bitty piece of like what we're willing to show people. I mean, what are some of the examples that you can like pull up immediately of that, of like the government choosing to show us like bits and pieces besides like cops? I mean, what when do you think cop problems and violence started like really, really, really like hitting the forefront? If you had to put a timeline on it.
I mean, I think that's always been an issue for a long time. I mean, you can go
Not
back
an issue, but like on media where we kept seeing it over and over and over and over again.
I really just think that has to do with the fact that it's just more accessible because we all have phones.
Yeah.
See, so what I was going to say earlier was basically the phone, social media, each individual is a channel. You are a channel. Essentially, if you could imagine the world on a large screen with different little screens on it, you could see everybody's life, and everybody is willingly to say, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. And you have to filter through that. You know, you have to, it's almost like having access to a million channels, right? So there's a lot of crap out there, just a lot. And it just makes it difficult to have to filter through all the BS to get to the real truth. And that's another thing the government, you can talk about, has done, is they've created so many delusions, illusions, or whatever you want to say, of what is reality and what you should focus on, because you look at it, it's there for you to look at, and you just have to limit yourself to why you're using social media, what information you're getting from it, and how much time are you spending on it. Like, what are you really doing? Are you really just curious about so-and-so's baby or their shop? Like, what are you really, like, if it's cool, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being curious about your cousin's birthday or something. You couldn't make it, you can see some photos, nothing wrong with that. But I think it's the addiction, right? The addiction of, it's kind of hard to say, what are you addicted to? Just maybe seeing how their life is, or I don't really know. But because I fall victim sometimes. I'm just going to do something on Facebook real quick, and next thing I know, 10 minutes went by. And I was just scrolling through a timeline, and I clicked on this, and I saw an article, and I saw this. You know, you just have to be careful. You have to be careful what information you take seriously, and how much time you're spending doing it, you know?
Yeah. So you have discussed with me before privately about how you had a certain situation in your life in which you really saw the befores and the afters of your event with social media and with media in general.
So essentially, I remember when, like, MySpace was the thing, right? MySpace was huge. I remember during this time I used social media a lot. And then unfortunate events happened, and I was incarcerated for 5 out of the next 6 years. So when I was released, Facebook had exploded. I didn't have a Facebook account because Facebook started as just a college thing. You had to have a college email to even get an account.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read about it, though. You know, I did a lot of reading. And I'm kind of glad in that sense that, like, some good things did come out of that experience. One of those being that because when I was released, I went to my MySpace page and I was looking at it, and I was like, I mean, just some of the posts that I did was just ridiculously, you know, and I'm just like, why did I do this? Like,
Yeah.
granted, I was probably under the influence of something there most of, but regardless, it doesn't make it right for me to have posted that.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, well, and then I got on Facebook because all my friends were on Facebook. Hey, you gotta get on Facebook. Get on Facebook. Okay, I'll get on Facebook. And then I remember Instagram. I had no idea what Instagram was. No idea. I read about it, but I was very unsure.
How did you? You keep saying you read about these things. I'm like, how did you read about these things while you were
because
jail? Like,
well, I mean, we have access to publications, right? So I had subscriptions to Newsweek and Time Magazine, newspapers.
So it was just like as it was coming, it was like being discussed.
Those unless you get a very specific publication. Publications are not made for prisoners, right? Mm-hmm. So when they talk about stuff, they talk about stuff like, you know what they're talking about, and like you can go use it. So when they would talk about Instagram, it wouldn't tell you what it was. It would
Oh.
just kind of say it in a way that you already knew about it, right?
Like
They'd say,
this thing just happened on Instagram.
right, or so
like,
and so Instagram has all these followers, and I was just like,
Oh.
I was like, but what are they like? What is
That's
it?
crazy.
I'm like, but what are they doing? Like, what is Instagram doing? What is it? I remember when they got purchased. I think Google bought them. I forgot who bought Instagram, but I remember I was like, wow, or whatever. And I was just like, I didn't really know what it was. I was unsure. I didn't really care actually because I couldn't have access to it anyways, so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really care. So I remember I was at my buddy's house a couple of days after my release, and we're just talking, and I was like, hey man, what is this Instagram? Like, what is that?
What is the
And he's
Instagram?
like, dude, you don't know what Instagram is? And I was like, because the phone, when I was released, I got my old phone, and it was so old that I couldn't even get Instagram on it. So he was like, dude, it's just a thing where all these hot girls take selfies. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, look. And he shows me his phone, and sure enough, I'm scrolling through, and it's just all these hot chicks taking selfies. And I'm like, why? What? This is what this is? And and that was it just shows you like how that was not its creation, and that's what he thought it was for, because that's what he used it for.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was silly on how that was. Well, anyways, back to what I was saying about so being gone for so long, and then getting out, and then seeing people on Facebook, and that was one of the issues that happened when I told you earlier about saying I'm gonna be over here. And then it turns out I went over there, and somebody posted the location. They tagged me. I wasn't even aware you could do that, right? And it was weird. It was like, and I used to tell my friends, I'm like, man, like, y'all, why you? But they evolved with it. I was taken away from it. I was isolated and completely away from society, and it really allowed me to see it, right, when I got out, and to have been gone for so long, to then get how much had changed in such a short period of time. Even people that I knew that used to always talk crap about Facebook, like, they were on it now.
Yeah.
They were doing it, online dating. That's just crazy. And that has to have stemmed from social media, the ability to know that, well, because people don't it's even though Facebook, Instagram, they're not they're dating apps, people use it for that.
Yeah.
Because
They're like
they look
groups, like singles in
could,
Houston, or
right, you
singles.
could look up your ex person that you hadn't seen in for so long because you lost communication. You just type them in, boom, oh, there they are. Let's see what they're doing. It's like yeah, it's a good thing. Like I said, that was one of the good things that happened to me. Not I don't know what would have happened had I would have just gone farther and farther down the rabbit hole and been like everybody else. But I was able to see what was happening. Even when I got out, I'm not gonna lie, I did get on Facebook more than I should have, and then I decided to pull back a little bit and be like,
Yeah,
whoa,
but
like,
you had a lot to catch up on, so that made sense.
I didn't need that to catch up.
Yeah, you could have just looked at the news, I guess.
Yeah, there's so many other ways. I think that's another thing, right? People relying on it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need it for anything, like,
Yeah.
at all. There's people that don't have social media.
Yeah.
And they're fine. They're good. Everything's fine. And I've thought about it before, like, man, like do a little week, 2 weeks where I don't even use it. 30
That
days.
would be really nice, to just be able to disconnect and not feel like I have responsibilities I need to get back to. But a lot of it is just being like, man, like, especially because of like the path I've chosen for my job, it is like outside of this, well, this is media, but outside of this, being in the modeling field, it's like you have to use it, right? And then like you have to know where to go for a casting call or something like that. And even being like a director or an actor, it's like you have to use it to build your portfolio, or to get people to be in your movies, or to go to these auditions. Like, you have to have it.
No, you're completely right. One of the things I always give people a hard time about is like when they take pictures of their food. It's like, what are you doing? You're about to eat that.
What are you doing?
That no one ever did that back. Nobody took pictures of their food. But it's like now, it's like it's a part of every aspect of their lives. It's
Yeah.
they can't disconnect.
Yeah. And for sitting in on Challenge the Norm with me, Joie, and Victor.
That was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.